Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to World at War Comics podcast. My next special guest from Avalon Comics is Mr. Brandon Starocci. Brandon, thank you so much for being with me. Man, it's so awesome to have you here. Starocci, not Starocci. Sorry. I
I
saw
wasn't
your
gonna
eyes,
correct
man.
you. It's fine.
We just talked about this. I am so terrible, bro. I'm sorry, man. But Brandon,
No worries.
it's,
No
it's
worries.
a pleasure to meet you, man. I had a blast reading your comic, man. It is top notch. We'll get into that, but story's incredible, super fast paced, art next level. Congratulations, man. It's really hard to put a comic book together as an indie creator and to have 4 issues that are bangers like that. That's pretty awesome, man.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. I appreciate you having me on the show as well, given the opportunity to talk about Avalon and the amazing team that surrounds me as well. But, like you said, a lot of hard work goes into it. And I'm a big believer in a good team kind of makes that kind of come into fruition, and I have an excellent team around me to make it come to life.
Yeah, 100%, right? I mean, that's the beauty about comic books. You could have a really good story, but if the art's not great, it takes away from the story, right? And you could have a terrible story with amazing art, and it makes it really hard to kind of read. It's a little distracting when the story doesn't match. So when two come together like that, and both the art and the writing is able to kind of come together to help tell that story. I mean, that's a beautiful thing. I think every writer of comics tries to do that, but not
Yeah.
always does it happen, right? So when it does, it's awesome to see.
It definitely can be a beautiful thing, coming from, a fan perspective, kind of seeing other people's kind of, especially indie creators being in this whole business. Now I see a bunch of them and seeing their projects kind of come to life and seeing how much they put into it and having it pay off, kind of like, seeing it all kind of come out and come together. It is a beautiful thing. And then being on the creator aspect of it as well is to see it all come to life. I have all these visions in my head. I have all these ideas in my head. I have people helping me get them out, and then Demetrius really putting it on paper. It's just the best feeling ever. And seeing it in physical form is just another thing to it.
Yeah. I mean, what an amazing feeling to hold that in your hand, right, for the first time when it's done.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure.
So can we kind of go back in time, Brandon? I would love to kind of talk about how you got into comics. Did you start really early reading comics? I've met a lot of amazing creators that started a little bit later in life. Can you kind of walk us through how you got into comics?
Yeah, I'm one of those people who just got into comics a little bit later in life. I was a huge fan, or still am a huge fan of the Walking Dead show. I didn't realize it was a comic book until about about 3 seasons in, and then once I started realizing, I started buying them. Wherever I can't even remember what year that was, but from wherever it was, I started collecting them on and getting the volumes, and then collecting the individual issues from that point on. And then I really started getting into it at that point, and then I started really reading like 30 Days of Nights, the Night of Living Dead comic as well, like those kind of, I don't want to say they're independent, but those like real niche kind of things, like the crazies too, like that's where my kind of uh that's what I kind of enjoy, is that kind of entertainment in that sense, like end of the world kind of stuff like that. But then I really started generating towards that, and then obviously like Batmans and stuff like that. I really started collecting some of the Batmans and getting into those as well. But it's one of those things again where it came later in my life, and then I really started enjoying it more as I started doing my Avalon
Yeah.
and getting that out there. I really started collecting more and more and more and doing a lot of that with the comic community.
That's awesome, man. And then as far as storytelling, right? I mean, that's a skill set in itself. Have you always been someone that's kind of like to either to write or to storytell? Like when did that start in your life?
I think very early. Me and my buddy for a long time growing up, we've been very creative individuals. We we did a thing called Parkour Legends, which was horrible. Don't look it up. It's very old. But
Now
so
everyone's gonna look it up because you said that. You realize
we,
that,
we,
right?
we've done a lot of stupid things, but very creative mindset.
Yeah.
So I've had that kind of thing go with me throughout, my life. And then I realized I don't know what I want to do with my life. I want to be like a director. I've always had a thing for being, film, and my dad was a big movie guy, so I've always watched movies. I've had a big respect for directing, and I went to the New York Film Academy to visit and found out it was way too much. And we're like, okay, backtrack that. So then I came back home doing the whole real, normal full time job kind of thing. And then I met Alan. That's when I met Alan Dingfelder. And then we kind of went full circle because he did stuff in his past, creative wise as well. And we just kind of like, let's just do this thing. And that's kind of like what really made the whole 1282 label. The thing that you see on the front of Avalon is like that's kind of like our brand. We're trying to kind of explode with Avalon and other projects behind closed doors right now. But it's really just trying to make all those things come to life. The whole creative side of us that we tried to suppress with real life jobs that are boring. We're finally letting it all out.
That's awesome, man. And can you walk us through how the name 1282, what's the significance of that name, right? Because I think that's another question people are going to ask. Like those are random numbers, right? They got to mean something.
So the funny thing is when Alan and
Hope
I
it's not
first.
your like home address, by the way. That's a bad
No,
idea.
no, no, no,
Okay,
no,
good.
no, not yet. No, yeah, no, no, no. But one of the first job or second job, Alan and I worked together after meeting each other. Our hourly rate was $12.82, which was horrible at the time, and we were not making anything. So it was a hard time period for both of us. Hourly, it's just trying to live normal life and etc. in that category. And then we're just like, and that at that point we were like, we need to do something, and that's kind of like when we did it. And then when we're thinking about names, like so on later we're like 1282, like it flows off the tongue well. It's I think it's very catchy, and it was just a crucial time. That was our hourly rate at a crucial time, and we were just like bottom of the barrels, like we were barely making anything, trying to like get by, and it just stuck with us. So that's kind of like how it works.
I love it, man. But I'm just going to be very honest with you. Getting into comic books, it's going to be like 435. So
It's going to be even less than that, right? Right. I guess that's why I still have the full-time job. So
yeah, exactly.
one day I'm hoping I could just drop that and just get right into comics or entertainment.
Yeah, that'd be awesome, man. That'd be awesome. So is the hope of Avalon to hopefully take a property like that, have a nice, really good run and a story that's kind of drawn out a little bit, so you have a little bit of a scale around that story, and then maybe shop it around? Is that kind of the idea, or you just focusing on comics and that was really the only purpose?
So, it was really just kind of doing our own thing. Because when Alan was doing creative things before, he was part of a band, and one of the most important things to us when we made 1282 was like doing our thing. We want to do our thing, and not really have people tell us like, oh no, you have to do this, you can't do that, you can't do that. So really, that's the whole kind of thing behind 1282 is just allowing us, and hopefully in the future, some other people do their thing. Like let's just do what you want to do. You have the vision, you have the creativity, make it come to life. And that was really the kind of the trademark behind why we wanted to do 1282.
Yeah.
And then obviously Avalon came out, and we're trying to really do it the way we want to do it. So it's not really so much shopping Avalon away. It's really just doing the best we could do with the story that we have, and really make it come to life for people who enjoy reading that kind of story.
That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So let's kind of get into the story itself. I know Walking Dead and kind of those type of a stories certainly had an influence, but when did the story of Avalon start to come together with all the character development and all that good stuff? Can you kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, obviously, first and foremost, just a quick breeze is just this
Sure.
idea I had was way back in senior year in high school. It was when I told you, like, I was like, okay, I want to quick go to film academy and all that stuff. I had that kind of inspiration, and then I didn't know what to do, so I just buried it. And that's when I met Alan, and then that's when we started getting to the character development and the real development of the story overall. It was a fun process because I kind of knew what I wanted to do. I really wanted to relate it as much to reality as possible, and what I knew, because learning writing and all that stuff that comes with it was kind of an obstacle. And Alan was a cool guy to have around me, and kind of like this is what we could do, this is what we do, because he wrote music and all that stuff, so he had a general understanding of writing, and what works and what didn't work. And he's just a smart guy, creative guy himself. And then we were kind of baby stepping this whole process, and I really kept it tight to my story and my life and my reality and what I knew. So the three brothers being the main kind of focus of the story. I have two brothers, so there's three brothers in this family, and kind of utilizing the ups and downs in my life and people's lives that I've seen going, just living day to day life, and applying that to the story and using those extreme highs and lows for storytelling purposes. Not all of that stuff is true in my life, but just dramatic kind of stories. But having that whole process be a thing, when Alan and I were first doing this from the start, was probably one of the funner things that I've ever done in my funner's not a word, funners.
Yeah,
It
I
was
got
one
it.
of the funnest things I've probably done in my life, is that kind of beginning process of Avalon.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the character development is kind of significant throughout Avalon as well. starting with the family at the table at the restaurant. Can you kind of walk us maybe like a quick synopsis of what the story is about for people that haven't had a chance to read it yet?
Yeah, I mean, the overall story about Avalon is following the Castle family, which is a dysfunctional family that living an honest life alone, just on a day-to-day basis, is hard enough for them. So that's why we wanted to, again, everybody deals with that on some sort of level. So we wanted to add that element with, like, okay, the apocalypse, the mental health, the real life physical issues people deal with, all of those things in one, and what am I going to do, and having that person pick up that comic and relate to any person doing it. And again, one of the things, market points, that we really try to focus on as well, is steering away from the hero's journey.
Mhm.
With me being a big fan of The Walking Dead, I respect The Walking Dead for what it is. I don't want to be like The Walking Dead. You know what I mean? I want to differ myself from it. I just want to be, the only thing that's going to be similar to The Walking Dead is, okay, it's another zombie book. Other than that, I want it to be kind of separate in its own category. I want the whole family to be the main protagonist. I want the world to generate what happens to these characters, not us in the writer room. So that's one of the big things when we're in the writer room, is like, let the world do the dictating on what happens, like how we live on a normal basis. So basically that.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely not The Walking Dead. So anybody listening to this, you're not reading another Walking Dead. It's completely different. And I do like that the family is kind of the core. Because although The Walking Dead is an awesome IP in and of itself, obviously it's I don't know how much Robert Kirkman has made off of just that one property alone, but I think he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, I think he's doing all right. But having that family as the center of Avalon, like you said, is so relatable. And each member of that family is going through a different experience and they're receiving what's happening around them in a much different way, right? One's kind of closing up out of anxiety and doesn't know how to react, and it just kind
Yeah.
of makes things worse. One wants to do a lot, but doesn't know where to start, and everything's just moving so fast. And I mean, it's really, really good, I think, character development amongst that family. So congrats on that. And I think it's going to be extremely relatable to anybody, right? We all come from a family, so I think you're going to be able to relate to that
Yeah, and so
very
at
easily,
least
right?
a little bit, right?
At
Yeah.
least a little
No,
bit, right? Yeah.
definitely appreciate the kind words there as well. A lot of those things that you mentioned are very well said, and what we're kind of moving for and pushing for with these characters. Everybody, one family, you look at a family of five or whatever it might be, everybody's dealing with life in a different way. And when you, like you said, when you toss that apocalypse into it, the zombies kind of like this chaotic outbreak that just happened out of nowhere. You're like, what the hell, but you kind of deal with it. And then these people and these brothers, mom, dad, whatever it might be, are dealing with it in different ways at the same exact time. And we're telling that story where it's like, okay, anybody, different people could pick up the story and relate and have a different main character than somebody else, is what basically it is. Like when you pick up The Walking Dead, it's Rick Grimes, the main character. At least when you pick up Avalon, anybody can pick it up and go, okay, that's my main character. That's my main character. That's my, you know what I mean? It's different for everybody, different experience.
No, I think that there's a little bit of a brilliance in that as well, right? Because if you have one protagonist, right, and you don't like that, you might stop reading it. But here you have a lot of different options to choose from, and they all equally, I think, get to shine throughout the first four issues, which is awesome.
Yeah, yeah, no, and that it's nice to hear as well. It's obviously a thing that we go for, right?
Yeah.
But when it's awesome feedback to hear that we're doing what we're planning on doing. So it's not like getting mistranslated some way somehow through through the grapevine or whatever. But I agree with that, as well as, like, really trying to spread out the screen time for every character in it. Obviously in certain issues it seems like we're generating towards one character, but when the next one comes out, you're like, oh, okay, so now this is them. You know what I mean? But yeah, no, it's nice to hear the feedback that what we're doing is working, I guess.
Now, as far as like the characters themselves, obviously you grew up in a family, you have brothers, so I assume that a little bit of that was going into how the family might have been made up. But have you been able to draw from the community that you were raised in on certain things that you find within the story itself? Like, are we going to find that same diner where you live? Like those kind of things. Are you putting like little eggs, Easter eggs throughout there or no?
Yeah, of course. I'm a big Easter egg guy.
Yeah.
So specifically the diner, not so much, but there are going to be little things here and there throughout the story and the first season and so on, that we're going to be throwing little Easter eggs in of the city we're in, because again, it takes place in Erie, Pennsylvania, and I'm from Erie. So again, keeping it generated close to what I know, instead of, because again, writing was kind of like a newer thing. We're learning it as we go. So keeping as much close to us as we could, and really just articulating that as much as we could as well. But you're going to see those little Easter eggs. I'm a big Easter egg guy. Love them in shows, love them in, being a big fan of Quentin Tarantino. Those little niche things are like fun to me, and I like adding those things.
You think we'll get a rock band or any kind of band? I don't know what kind of music Alan was part of, but we got to have something happen while a band is playing or something, you know?
Yeah, yeah, maybe.
Maybe. All right, we'll leave it at that, man. We'll
Yeah,
leave it
yeah,
at
we'll
that.
leave it at that.
That
Yeah.
would be hilarious, though, man. That would be pretty awesome.
It definitely would, like having little things in our lives kind of showcase in the story, and for us to know, and something that me and Demetrius and I kind of go through a lot is what are we adding in these little things? Like we're always adding little symbolic things, little Easter egg things, and he comes up with a lot of them too, which is awesome, and having those things, and really for me knowing what they are, it's fun, and hopefully people see it. I'll never tell people what all of them are, but when people read them, I'm hoping like someday, like, oh, I know what that is, or I see what that is. I see what they're doing there. But yeah.
That's awesome, man. I absolutely love it. So right now, Brandon, we have 4 issues of Avalon, right? All 4 are out and ready to go.
Yeah, 4 issues are out right now. We're currently, we've been on a bit of a delay with issue 5. I, myself, and Demetrius have both had little personal things going on. We finished our Kickstarter late last year. We're trying to wrap this up as much as possible, fulfill the whole Kickstarter as a whole, which would include issue 5. And with all that being said, we're obviously not starting anything else with the Kickstarters until we completely fulfill this and make sure people understand that, we had a setback on our ends and we really want to get it out there as fast as possible. We're constantly updating people, but yeah, 4 are out right now, 1 through 4. Again, each issue that comes out, Demetrius, he just outdoes himself each issue, which is awesome. For me, it's awesome for people who read it, just seeing these cool, awesome angles he kind of comes up with the panels and all that. But yeah, yeah.
Well,
Long answer for your question. Yeah.
no. I mean, that's awesome. That's awesome, Brad. So let's talk about Demetrius. So it's Demetrius Nastos. I imagine is how you pronounce it. This is like really good grayscale. And I think people need to know that the art in this is absolutely spectacular. You have accents of red and other colors where it makes sense, but for the most part, your comic book is grayscale. And when grayscale is done right, I think it's one of the most easiest things on the eyes when you're reading a comic book. And after reading the first 4 issues, Demetrius knows how to do this right. I've seen black and white comic books, and again, I never poo-poo on anybody, right? I've made a comic book. It's really hard, and I'm not
Yeah.
an artist. So, but I've seen some black and white, right? And they're very, they're black and white, right? And they're very
Yeah.
plain. This
Yep.
isn't. You got a lot of great grayscale in here too. So it's so well done. Just I fell in love with the art immediately before I even finished the story. I was like, this is pretty dope, man. So, can you talk a little bit more about Demetrius, how that relationship came together, and obviously you're still working together because you're working on 5, right?
Yes. Yes. So, looking for Demetrius and looking for an artist in general, I was on Instagram for a long period of time, couple months, looking for an artist that, going through like hashtags, looking for the best art style that I thought would work for Avalon. And, the idea was always black, white, and blood, and figuring that all out and looking for what kind of did that most. And then, thank God we ended up finding Demetrius. He was 100% on board once I kind of hit him with it, which was awesome right off the gate for us. Hearing that he was like a go-getter and all that stuff, he was 100% on board. No question asked, basically. And then we did a concept page for us, which was amazing. And then we just kind of pulled the trigger on it. And then ever since then, it's just been amazing. That first issue, you could tell obviously the art is a little bit different from 2 and so on, which that is another thing as well. But he when he at the end of 1, when he's like, he came to me and said, or it's just all through Messenger because Demetrius is in Greece. So
Yeah.
a lot of our relationship has been over chatting and Discord chats and all that as well. But when he told me after issue 1, that he has a new style and he's been working on it a little bit, I was so nervous because I'm a very consistent person. I was like, I don't know, like just let me see what you got. I'm all, I'll see what it is. Loved it. I loved exactly what he was trying to do. It was almost like without knowing it, that's what I wanted originally. But like, it's just like one of those things. It's like he knew or whatever. So then we ended up rolling with that. Obviously, that's going to be the style moving forward. Issue one, we're actually working on a remake as well, which is going to be fun later on this year when we drop the volume for
Trade.
first six issue. Yeah, the trade paperback. We're going to be doing the remake of issue one as well, in conjunction with each other for the Kickstarter later this year. But that's one thing too, and having our thing develop over time, having him be able to read the script and just be like what I give him, and he's like, I like this, I love this. What if we do this on this page? Having that comfortable kind of chat amongst each other. When he has an idea, 99.9% of the times we're rolling with it. He reads it and he's like, this would be cool if we do this, X, Y, and Z, and we're rolling with it. He comes up with so many different ideas now because the time working with each other.
Yeah, once you get to kind of a comfortable place with an artist where they understand your writing style, you understand their art style, all of a sudden you start to gel. Man, it's such a really good place to be, right?
Oh, 100%. I feel so comfortable where I'm at with Avalon and having him a part of it as well. And to have him be the artist and just exactly know what I want without even knowing it half the time. I mean, like I'm giving him the script, yeah, but like he presents ideas to me that aren't even in the script. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, we'll do, you know what I mean? 10 times better than I originally thought. You know what I mean? So one of the big things that I've learned over time is just let the artist be the artist.
Yeah, yeah,
He sees that page the way it is. He sees the panels how he wants to do it. And the script, that just let him do his canvas. Let
yeah.
him take care of the work.
Now, from a writing standpoint, as you're working with Demetrius, can you kind of walk through how you or how you lay out the story for the artist? Because I found everybody has their own style. I'm not sure one's wrong and one's right. I just think everyone has their own style. So do you start by like writing out the story by panel, and then he comes back and says, you know what, that's 5 panels, not 4, and I could do this. Can you kind of walk us through what that looks like?
So yeah, I've done it the same since the start. I was gonna change it, but I was like, why change it if it's not?
Yeah.
Don't fix something if it's not broke. The way I do it is I write at page to page, and inside the pages I kind of break them down in panels. I write down exactly what I want, like in a screenplay format, where it's like you're writing down what you want, the dialogue and all of that. Give or take how many panels you want, and this is where his expertise comes into play. When he reads it, he's like, okay, I'm actually going to take away a panel or two and do the same thing here, or add a few panels to show a little bit more action, or a couple more close-up scenes to lead up to this kind of big panel that you have. And again, like I said, 99.9% of the time he's hitting the nail on the head. I'm like, yeah, let's roll with it. But I do get specific with what I want on some of the things as well. That's that 0.1%, right? But overall, he kills it, and we've had that chemistry over the years of working with each other as well, and making sure that kind of all is articulated the exact way. Because he tells me all the time he's a fan of the story himself, and to have him be a fan of it is another huge thumbs up for us too. Because I know for myself that he loves it and he wants to be here, and that's the beauty of having Demetrius be a part of this team as well. As it's not just a job to him. It's like this is his baby too. And I tell him that all the time. That Avalon wouldn't be where it is without you and all that. So it's just kind of like that parallel kind of race that we're having right here, where we're right beside each other.
I love it, man. That's awesome. It's good to hear you have that kind of relationship because as a fan, right, you're investing in a story,
Yeah.
and nothing worse. Like one of the, I mean, it is what it is, right? It's indie comics, and I think everyone has an idea of what they want to accomplish in indie comics. But as you know, Brandon, it's not cheap to make a comic book. And especially your first couple, you never get back what you've put into it. So you got
No.
to build like a fan base in order to get to a point where maybe you could actually at least break even. Like breaking even would be really nice, right?
Of course. Of course. And
Yeah, so it's awesome that you have that kind of relationship and you're working together. Can you talk to us what the idea around Avalon is as far as length? Is the goal to make this kind of an ongoing, or is there a definitive end to this story after a certain amount of issues? Maybe you don't know how many issues yet, but there is like an end, and you already have the end.
So I have a general end in my head. It's going to be an ongoing issue. And one thing that I have learned throughout this writing process is the first initial script we had of issue one of Avalon was absolutely horrible. And you've read the first the first four, but to put it in perspective, that first issue, the original issue, we were going to kind of go through the production and all that stuff and get it out there, was basically crunched down from 1 through 3 that you just read.
Okay.
So all three of those issues that you just read was crunched into one issue, which in my mind right now is just horrible. I mean, it's just such a huge rush, so much story in those 3 issues. It's not like it was stretched out in a bad way. It was a lot of story there. There's a lot of things to articulate and really showcase, and we condensed that for some reason into one. So good thing we pulled that back and stretched that out. But going through that process and understanding all of that, I realized how much longer Avalon can kind of go for. I definitely have a good understanding of where or what I want to happen. The main big arcs that I have in my head. But Avalon's gonna be around for a little while, a little while longer. I have a lot of things I want to kind of showcase with these characters and the story overall, and I'm excited to kind of get it all out there with working on it with the writing room and having Demetrius kind of make it all come to life.
That's awesome to hear, man. So at 1282, Avalon is the one and only title as of right now, correct? But
As of
the
right now, yep.
idea, you already have aspirations to bring forth other titles?
Oh yeah, of course. I don't know what you call it, but my mind's always everywhere. I'm working on 5 different things at once. At the same time, and I shouldn't be. I should be really focusing on the whole Avalon thing. But it's just like you're always working on 10 different things, and I'm sure you get it as well. But yeah, I'm working on titles myself. And having of course having other people part of it too. But what we're willing to offer, and that's all in the works of being figured out. But myself just getting those titles added to the 1282 kind of brand, and I'm working on a bunch of different things. I'm hoping to kind of get out here in the next year or so, and
Nice.
really we're excited for it. I'm excited for it. Two off the top of my head that are really kind of exciting for me to kind of do and get going. And I hope within the next year or two, we kind of get those moving alongside with Avalon. Avalon's always going to keep going at a steady pace, hopefully even faster. And those other two, we'll see what happens in the next year or two.
Now, are you trying to like, is your wheelhouse kind of the same genre that Avalon is, or are you like going a completely different direction on new titles as well?
It'll be new titles. So yeah, the two that are really I'm working on now are completely two different things.
Okay. That's
And very excited. I'm working. Well, the thing is, I'm working on a screenplay as well, so it's kind of like an extension of that screenplay
Yeah.
that my aunt and I are kind of working on right now. And it's kind of an extension to kind of get it all like started. Because screenplays are expensive. All the stupid stuff that comes with all that. So I'm like, I pitched the idea to her. Why don't we make like a comic book, like to kind of uh, open up that world a little bit. So it allows us to kind of get that, the copyright, all that stuff that comes with all the stupid stuff that comes with all that, and then kind of get that going. But it's definitely a good story that we're working on as well for the comic book, in that sense. But that's one of the things where I'm very, very, very excited about. I'm loving that project too.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple friends on the West Coast. Critical Entertainment is one of the publishers, and they have some amazing titles as well. But a couple of their titles they actually have used as pitch books for either film or animation. So it's a great segue, right? Because as a director, right, it's a lot easier to take in the story. It's condensed. You could kind of see the visuals. So I think there's some positive if that's the goal.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm glad to hear that on my end too, because that's basically exactly what we're doing. And to have that kind of be like an actual thing without me knowing it. I'm glad I know it now. I'm glad it's like a thing. I'm like, I'm trying to figure this out as we go along kind of deal. But yeah, good to hear it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, man, Brandon, that is so awesome, man. So why don't you go and walk us through the entire team that's part of Avalon? All right, we already know Demetrius. We've mentioned Alan really quickly. I know he's in a band and that he has been working with you, but maybe go into a little more detail of all the people that have made this happen.
Yeah, so there's Demetrius, which is obviously the artist of Avalon. He's been the artist the whole way through. He does all the covers, he does all the interior art, and so on so far. Everything you see visually is 100% Demetrius. All our website as well, avaloncomic.com. Everything you see on there is stuff from his art and all of that stuff. So everything visually right now for Avalon is Demetrius, which he, again, all the praise in the world, does an awesome job on everything he kind of gives me. So we have Alan as well. He's a co-writer. What he did was he helped me with season one. Alan's role was to really kind of get us uplifted in Avalon and from 1 through 6, and kind of do behind the scenes stuff for 1282 and work on the other projects that kind of are what we want to do overall in the future and all that stuff. So he's kind of taken a hiatus from the comic writing part. He's really just in the trenches, I guess, with 1282 per se. And Callie Oberlander, she helped write and edit issue 4 and 5. So she kind of like perfected it a little bit more. We had it all written out, and she kind of having her hand. She's a short film director, writer, and really big into film. I met her actually at a film fest as well. She did an awesome job for us, and the time she helped us at 4 and 5, kind of again making sure those were a little bit perfected, and we're happy with what we got. And we're really happy for everybody to see what we got as well. Obviously, you read 4 and then 5 too. I'm very excited for. And Rachel Bullock as well. She's going to be more in season 2, but she helped edit issue 6 and kind of again with the Callie just really perfect it and make sure what we're telling is exactly what we want and makes sense in all that kind of regard. But she'll have a huge role in season 2. Well, keep saying season 2, but volume 2 and so on going forward. We're excited to have her a part of the team as well. But that's basically the team right now. And again, without the team, Avalon wouldn't be where it was.
That's so cool, man. So cool. So season 1 is issues 1 through 6, and then 7 through 12 is season 2 then?
Yeah, yep. That's going to be kind of like the good the running part for Avalon, unless there's something where we think it needs to be like a part 2 of something. We'll do the part 1, part 2 volume kind of deal. But for the most part, that's kind of how we've been telling the story with the season 2 right now. We're kind of me, and I'm allowed to say his name now, but his name is William. He's going to be helping me with season 2. A writer, a good friend of mine I've known for a lot of years. He tagged on for the projects. He's a big fan of movies, big fan of Quentin Tarantino and all that stuff. And so am I. So like to have that part of the Avalon thing on another level is very exciting for me. But him and I have been working on really trying to get Avalon or season 2 perfected in that new kind of storytelling way, where it's like we had Alan, and then kind of having that same thing, because obviously I'm still there, but having that little bit of a twist and new element to the storytelling is very interesting, and seeing it all and reading it all is very fun for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And then as far as where people could pick it up, you kind of mentioned it. You said it was avaloncomic.com?
Yeah, avaloncomic.com. Yeah, you could simply just go to that website and hit the store. It's right on the top bar there. Go to our store, and that brings you to our store. Our PDF copies, if you simply just wanted to give it a shot, simply just $1.99. Not very expensive. We kind of just want to allow people, if you wanted to just see what it's about, grab it for a really good rate. Obviously, we have physicals on there as well, and so on.
That's so awesome. And then are you part of the Anyone World?
Anyone World, I'm not quite sure what that is.
Okay, yeah. I wasn't sure. You have ASAP, which is it's owned by a gentleman named Hades out of the UK. And he obviously that's for all of his titles. And then he has Anyone World, and it's a lot of American indie publishers. I'll give you more information, but I thought maybe I saw you on his website, but maybe it wasn't. But anyways, it's Anyone World. And if you ever want to get your title in front of a bunch of British comic book fans, that's a good way to do it. Yeah, it's pretty awesome, man. So I'll give you that information after. But
Awesome.
so really the main place to go to is avaloncomic.com, and there you can find the PDF, you can find the physicals if that's your thing, and that's pretty awesome, man.
Yep. We have I hope a good way of kind of showcasing what we're about with our website. I've had a bunch of people look at it and kind of tell me their thoughts on it. So I kind of critiqued it in that way. And obviously, anybody who goes to the website, if there's something that you'd like to see better, we're always up for suggestions too. So you know, it's me making the website, so
Yeah.
not too much of an expert in that category, but always love to hear stuff. But we're very excited about the website, you know, the artwork and all that stuff, and really explaining what we are showcasing Demetrius's art and all that as well. We're doing cool things with it as well.
That's so cool, man. And then how about social media? What platforms are you on and how could people follow you there?
Yeah, of course, we're like on every social media platform you could think of. You know, Facebook, Instagram, X, Twitter, TikTok too. All the stuff. Avalon Comic, you'll be able to find us. We're out there. 1282 Avalon Comic, I think, is the handle for X, but Facebook, Instagram is Avalon Comic, and same thing goes for TikTok as well. So just look up simply Avalon Comic as one, and then you'll be able to find us.
That's pretty awesome, man. Well, Brandon, are we leaving anything out?
I don't believe so. I think we're going there basically. Just, you know, the last thing I want to kind of reiterate as well, you know, since it's been a little bit since I did a chat, is again, we're working on really grinding out issue 5. We're going to get that out in people's hands as soon as possible. We really post updates as much as possible to let people know we're still kind of banging it out. Demetrius is doing an awesome job. The way he's coming up with these pages are phenomenal. Like I said earlier in the interview, each issue I feel like he just one ups the last one. He does an awesome job, but we're getting it out there for everybody who's eager. I get messages, I get the thing to kind of make sure people. I'm like, trust me, I know, I want to see it too. I want it here. But yeah, that's coming out, hopefully very 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 soon.
Very
Almost
cool.
done.
Very cool, man. Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It's such a pleasure meeting you. You have another fan. So, you know, I assume maybe May or something, you'll have issue 6 Kickstarter somewhere around that time frame as soon
Yeah,
as 5 is all fulfilled. And when that does happen, Brandon, man, come on back and we'll make sure that everyone knows that your Kickstarter is live for 6 and we'll talk about it, man. By then I'll have issue 5 in my hands and we'll be able to get through that one.
there we go. I love it. I love to hear it, and I appreciate you having me on the show as well. This is a fun time and good meeting you as well.
Awesome, man. Well, have a great rest of the week. And I'll make sure in the comment section that I'll put down the website, all your handles for all the different social media. Everybody follow Avalon Comics. And Brandon, until next time, man. Thanks.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You too.